Do you live outside the city? Have no interest in moving to some urban jungle filled with crappy schools and socialist policies? Are you one of the millions of Americans who live in small towns all across this country, working hard and taking care of your family? Well, one liberal says that not only should you move near or into a city, you should be forced to, even if you don't want to. Why? Well, to save the planet, of course. So, who wants to tell him that his food isn't actually grown in a grocery store? Over on Twitter, a guy by the name of Adam Kotsko opined that not only should people not want to live in rural areas, but suggested that they should be forcibly relocated to urban areas to conserve individual car use and lower the demand for fossil fuels. Now, Adam here is a political theologian and an assistant professor of humanities at Shimer College in Chicago. Don't worry, you don't really need to know who he is, but you should know what he said, because it is a perfect snapshot of how the leftist elite views millions of Americans all across this country who don't subscribe to the liberal urban dogma. Here is this dog turd of a tweet. In discussions of reducing car dependency, one often hears, what about people living in remote rural areas? And my gut instinct is, people shouldn't be living there in the first place. The solution is to give them generous grants to relocate among other humans. But what if they like living in remote rural areas? Sorry, you can't always get what you want. A lot of people would like to live in dense transit-rich settings, but can't, either because they can't afford it or it simply doesn't exist where they are. But don't worry. He says that this will never happen because our governmental institutions are insanely biased in favor of rural areas, which I'm sure is news to all the people living in them. Now, if by relocate among other humans he means move somewhere populated by other people just like him, he just made a fantastic case to never ever want to do it. Because Adam here is so dense that he actually thinks everyone should either want to move to a city or be forced to for their own good. You mean cities like this moron's hometown of Chicago, where 34 people were just shot last weekend and police are making record low arrests because they don't have enough cops to deal with the massive rise in crime? Or maybe cities like San Francisco, where children have to play hopscotch over dirty syringes in the street just to get to school. Or DC, where juvenile delinquents are carjacking people left, right, and sideways. Or in New York City, where people can't seem to catch the subway without getting randomly punched in the face. But here's this idiot, sitting there at a Starbucks drinking a $7 soy latte reading Hipster Weekly and wondering why millions of Americans don't want to live in some crime-ridden, poverty-stricken, drug-infested, overly expensive, polluted concrete hellscape that smells like pee. Baffling question, that one. And what's even more insulting than the obvious disdain that leftist elites have for people in small-town America is the astounding ignorance they seem to have when it comes to the rest of this country and how it runs. First of all, if this is about pollution, go stand in the middle of a cornfield in Iowa and tell me it's more polluted than a street in downtown LA. All those mass transit systems you think would save the planet if we all just piled in like sardines, do they run on pixie dust? Even that aside, here's a quick question for you, brain trust. If everybody in rural areas were forced to relocate to cities and reduce gas consumption, who, pray tell, is going to grow the food that you eat? Or raise the livestock that fills up your meat counter at your grocery store? Does all that just get delivered from the food fairy? What about the energy from the plants all across rural towns? You know, all the evil stuff used to generate the electricity that you conveniently don't have to think about as it magically powers your Prius. Factories. The manufacturing industries, the fishing towns, all of these rural places filled with hardworking people that you are too stupid to realize provide you with just about everything you use on a daily basis. I know this is a hard concept for you snot-nosed brats in your urban jungles, thinking everybody outside the city limits is, what did CNN call them? Hapless rube?
The credulous boomer rube demo that backs Donald Trump, that wants to think that Donald Trump's a smart one, and y'all elitists are dumb.
You elitists with your geography and your maps and your spelling, even though
your math and your reading.
Yeah, you're reading.
But we don't all want to cram into your cesspool paying $2,000 for a 600 square foot studio apartment, living shoulder to shoulder with people whose names we'll never learn, where the closest blade of grass is on a TV screen. Just like not all of us want to shove our children into the failing public school system that keeps devouring resources and turning out pathetic results. We don't all support big government policies from left-wing politicians who get rich off their solutions and don't give a crap about anyone else. We don't want this socialist, urban, left-wing utopia because it sucks. And all the people fleeing California and New York like bats out of hell are proving it. And the only reason that you can sit there with your organic shoes and your highbrow opinions is because the everyday working Americans in all those little towns that you continue to insult are the ones who keep this country running. You're welcome. And that's your reality check, America. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube and Rumble pages, like us on Facebook and Twitter, and stay sane out there.